Hey everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres. And this morning I am going to show you the absolute easiest way that I know of to plan your garden. Okay, what else should we be aware of if we're planting out seedlings? Well, the area of the United States that we live in tends to be very hot and dry. And when you plant the seedling during the day can make all the difference in the world between real success and total failure. What I mean is, look at your weather. Are you forecast to have weather over 100 degrees for the next 2 days, 3 days? If you can possibly postpone planting your plants out, that would probably be a really good idea, because the amount of stress that you're going to create with those plants is just going to be horrific. If it's going to have a big rainstorm with lots of wind and all that kind of stuff, postpone it if you can. You really don't want your plants to be beat to death when they first get out there. Even if you've hardened them off. Oh, hardening them off, what does that mean? Well, okay, so I grow a plant in my great room. It's a pretty controlled environment. It's got nice warm roots. At some point I turn that warmth off, but now the plant is really going. It's got no wind to speak of. It's got, you know what, the cat runs by and it creates a little puff of air. You know, it doesn't have any bugs chewing on it, hopefully. You don't have bugs in your house. Very controlled, very mild environment. Your plant is tender. It's fragile. Ideally, before you start getting ready to plant your plants out, you start getting them used to the idea of being battered around a little bit. One of the things that we'll do sometimes is set up a fan to blow on the plants. Now, not this big fan like they use in a movie that's designed to make it look like a hurricane. Just a regular little fan. And sometimes we'll even run it on oscillating so that it creates kind of more like a real normal wind would be, where the wind comes and goes and stuff like that. And start with just running it for maybe half hour or an hour a day. It'll tend to make your plants more sturdy. The stems will get sturdier. The leaves will get sturdier. It'll get used to the idea that, oh, I may lose water faster than previously. Okay? I need to make my roots a little sturdier. I need to increase the cell strength in my plant walls. Then, before you get ready to put them out all the time, we're a passive solar house, so we cast a shadow to the north of us. But it's still really bright out there. What I'll do is I'll start hauling trays of seedlings outside and just set them there in the shade, but still brightness. Let them get blown on by the wind. Let them, get jiggled around. Make sure the cat doesn't knock them on the floor. Not that she would ever do that. And make sure I'm taking good care of them. Are they getting enough water? Things like that. Be prepared to take them in. Don't leave them out there and go away all day. Not unless you're really confident, because, what if a windstorm came up? Dust devils around here could just shred the bejesus out of things. You need to be aware of that sort of stuff. But get them out there. Start with just a few hours. Get to the point where you can leave them out pretty much all day. Take them out in the morning. Like we fill our bird baths in the morning. I could take my plants out when I fill the bird bath, and then in the late afternoon, bring them back in. Gives them more protection for a while. Get them used to the idea of being outside. Right now, they're used to being in your house, someplace safe. Makes a huge difference in terms of how your plants will respond to being set outside. Even though you have hardened them off, which is what they call that, they've gotten them used to temperatures and stuff like that, and you may reach the point where you can actually leave them out someplace protected overnight because it's now safe. when you transplant them, you still need to make sure that you are not just sort of throwing them out there and not paying attention to the weather. Our weather is very volatile here. That means it changes. Sometimes the weather forecasts are way off. So I have been known to have to put up some strange form of protection. Think about that ahead of time. If I'm planning on it, if I know that I have to get the plants out because I'm on a schedule in terms of when I need to leave to go someplace or anything else, and I need to have them in the ground for at least a week or so before I go, even if it's on automatic watering, you want somebody to be there to think about those plants multiple times a day when you first put them out there. I will often do something like create a little bit of shade just with a piece of a weighted cardboard box. You know, take a cardboard box and stick a brick in the bottom of it so that it casts a shadow over the plants. Take a milk crate, like the kind you can get at the big box stores for storing things. Take a milk crate, it creates a little bit of shade by the virtue of its own bar sort of structure. Toss it over the plant and put a piece of cardboard on top that you weigh down just to create some shade so that the plant is not directly in the sun all the time. Create some sort of a windbreak. I remember one year, and this was quite a while ago, I had hardened off my plants. I thought I had them hardened off enough. I obviously didn't. I had checked the weather. The weather was going to be 70s during the day, high 60s at night. Just one of those rare times when there wasn't too much of a swing. Usually we have way more swing between day and night. But nothing I was concerned about in terms of freezing anything. I had put all my tomatoes out, and all of a sudden the weather changed, and the wind came, and it was literally ripping the leaves off of the tomato plants. And I was like, I'm not going to have any tomato plants if I don't do something. And I scrambled up every kind of junk you could think of to make this work. At the time, I didn't have any row covers. Now I would put up hoops and row covers. And a lot of times now when I plant, I will actually put hoops on my beds and then put the row covers on. I may not close them all the way down, but I'll put the row covers on for a few days just to give the plants some extra protection, because the row covers reduce the amount of sun that the plants get. It dramatically reduces the amount of what they call transpiration. That's like us sweating. Plants transpire. They lose water through their leaves and their stems and stuff, but mostly their leaves. It dramatically reduces the amount of transpiration that occurs with plants, and man, it makes a huge difference. This time, I didn't have row covers, and I don't remember why. Maybe I was waiting for them to come in. This was a long time ago. I got every piece of cardboard I could find, and I rigged kind of a frame around the vegetable bed. I used cement blocks that I had, I used bricks that I had, and I just made a wall, literally a wall. You really don't want to have to do that. I mean, it worked. I kept the plants alive. It was just this total change in weather that can just devastate. You know, I've listened to some pretty darn experienced gardeners talk about in the last couple of years where, you know, they're on the East Coast, they're susceptible to hurricanes and stuff like that. They got unexpected rain, not rain, when you get 4 inches of rain in an hour sort of thing, and it keeps up like that for a couple of days. You can lose your plants. They lost potato crops, they lost corn crops. The potato crops rotted because it just turned their garden into a giant mass of mud. The corn crops, the seed was literally washed away. Now, you know, there's times when Mother Nature will win, no matter what you do. But the more you can think this out ahead of time, okay, I'm planting in pots on my patio. Is there a way to cover those pots or get them in under cover farther if I need to? I'm planting in raised beds, which is what we do. Is there a way to put hoops on them and some sort of protection? That protection doesn't have to be fancy. We just got our row covers in, courtesy of the UPS people, last week. I was not able to get all of the row covers I wanted. They simply weren't available. But I have some at least. What if I didn't have row covers? What could I use? Well, I could use an old blanket, an old sheet. Just anything that will help to break the wind, that will help to provide shade. In the fall, or even in the spring, when all of a sudden you've got this nice weather, it's been nice for weeks, and all of a sudden you're going to get a freak frost. There's a polar vortex coming down out of Canada, and it's going to smack you, and it's going to drop your temperature 30 degrees in a matter of 5 hours or less. What can you do for your plants? I've used old blankets before. Just some sort of a frame, like a box or something, over the plant, and then just literally throw old blankets over the top. You don't want to leave them that way for any length of time. You don't want to leave them more than overnight if you can possibly help it. But that could be the difference between survival and total failure for your plants. So try and think it out ahead of time. Try and see what you could do if something really went crazy wrong. The weather is really unstable right now. Places in the United States had snow this week that haven't had snow probably in 20 years. Other places have no snow that normally by now would have a good snowpack of 2 to 4 feet. And they got nothing. They've got brown dirt. So the weather's all over the place. It has to do with the climate change that we're dealing with all over the United States and the world right now. Nothing we can do about it, but we have to be aware of it. You may or may not believe that the world as a whole is getting warmer, although the science is out there if you're willing to listen. But you have to understand that weather can be crazy wherever you live. And right now it's crazier than usual, to be honest. So you just need to be as prepared as you can be. Whether you're using cardboard boxes, blankets, sheets, professional grow covers, plastic. You can use regular old plastic like you would get as a drop cloth, the clear stuff, at a big box store for painting. You can use that painter's stuff just to keep the frost off. Your best bet with something like that is you need to keep it actually off of the plants. You need to have something to keep it off the plant, because if you have plastic against a leaf and there's a frost on the outside of that plastic, it will burn the leaf that is touching the plastic. So you need to keep the frost physically off. And a lot of times your air temperature will not be that low that it's not going to really kill the plant, but it's the frost. And physically keeping the frost off will actually allow the plant to survive. You might have a few burned leaves. Okay, that's no different than if a bug came along and ate a leaf. The plant is probably not going to die because it has burned leaf. Just make sure you water it well, fertilize it well, but don't cook it with fertilizer. Use something that's gentle. I like, after something's gone a little awry like that, I like a nice easy 20-20-20 to be able to just give it a little boost, and you make sure you follow the instructions. No matter what the fertilizer is, you can use too much of it. It's harder with the slow release organics because they are slow release, but do pay attention to the instructions. They were put there for a reason. Learn whether that type of fertilizer that you're using can be put on the leaves. A lot of the 20-20-20s can be used for either regular granular feeding around the base of the plant, or what they call foliar feeding, which is actually when you've dissolved it in water and you spray the plant itself. The plants are able to a certain extent to absorb certain types of nutrients through their leaves. But if you were to use the wrong strength, you're supposed to use a teaspoon or a tablespoon and you use a cup, you could burn the plant. So read the instructions. That's why they come with instructions. Hope you find this useful. We're going to be doing lots more, so be sure to stay tuned in. Hit that like bell, that subscribe bell. Comment below if you have specific questions, if you're interested in specific topics, if you had specific problems. Both my husband and I have a lot of experience with gardening. Maybe we can point you to a site that will help you with a specific topic. We don't pretend to know about every plant that's out there, fact, just this week I was doing some more research on stratifying seeds, but that's a whole nother video. So until next time, bye.